Hello everyone, I am Postre. Today I'm going to prepare a recipe that a friend of mine shared with me very recently, and I'm going to try to make it at the best of my capabilities, which is a very low standard. But he told me that this recipe is so good that it's almost impossible to encounter a possible failure. And that recipe is the Victoria cake. Very few ingredients, very fast, and almost impossible to fail. The ingredients for the cake are eggs, butter, custard sugar, self-rising flour, and a little bit of sunflower oil. And for the filling, strawberry jam and buttercream, which is going to require icing sugar, butter, and milk. Now a couple of disclaimers before continuing with the recipe. First of all, I didn't have custard sugar, so I just used the granulated one. Also, the butter is supposed to be unsalted, but since I didn't have that one, I just used salted. But I don't think that messed up the recipe because of the proportions. And also, it just happened that I didn't have at that moment enough icing sugar, so I just made half of the required one to fill the cake. So for the other half, instead of using jam and buttercream, I just use manjar, which is a staple in Chile and goes with pretty much every pastry. And I had to say this wasn't an exception, but I still had some things to say about it at the end of this video. In this very ultra secret recipe that my friend shared with me, the first step is to mix the eggs with sugar until the mix is kind of white. At this point I was so worried because I was just seeing yellow on the mix and I was like, is this really supposed to get white? But after 5 or 6 minutes, my patience paid off and I finally got the consistency that I was looking for. In the next step of the recipe, I was just adding the rest of the ingredients, which were the butter and the flour. After mixing everything, I added a little bit of oil to the mix. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this was my first time working with a dough like this, and I don't even know if we can call this a dough because it's so soft, thick and creamy. I mean, it literally looks like a cream that you can add on some pastries, that I even thought that I messed something up on the process. So I put the mix on a heart-shaped thing because I didn't have another one, and basically my family lent me this one with the only condition that I had to use non-stick baking paper. So I know that I can use just butter with this kind of tin, but I wasn't just going to betray my family for this recipe. Also, since I had just one tin, I had to just use half of the mix, bake it, then remove the cake from the tin and then bake the rest of the mix. But since this recipe is so fast, that is not going to suppose any problem. In fact, we just have to bake the mix around 10 or 15 minutes depending on the oven at 200 degrees Celsius. Now in my case, since I was experimenting with this recipe for the first time, I put it around 11 and 12 minutes and I was very worried about it because you can see that it's very brown, and at that moment I thought I overcooked it. So the second one, I just put it just exactly 10 minutes. And for my surprise, I sent the pictures to my friend and he told me that the first one was the right one and the second one was undercooked. And proof of that is that when I took that one off the oven, it lost volume. Now, to prepare the buttercream is really so simple, it's just mixing the butter and the sugar. We are also supposed to put the milk into the mix, but I completely forgot about that. But don't worry guys, this is completely going to work. I think it's a very good result. Maybe it's because I have never tried buttercream before in my life, but you just have to trust me. Anyways, we just have to mix everything until the consistency is thick and creamy. And even if you're seeing that this is not going to work because the ingredients are not mixing, you just have to keep going, you just have to keep pushing through until we get that consistency. And if I mention this is also because I was very concerned about the first result, I mean the very first minutes of the mixing, but after 5 or 7 minutes I finally made it. Now that everything was ready, I just had to put everything into the right place. I have to mount the cake, so to speak. And as I mentioned on the beginning, half of the filling is going to be buttercream and strawberry jam. and the other half is going to be just manjar, and on top of everything I'm going to include some strawberries. Because even if this ingredient is not required for this recipe, I saw a lot of Google images that showed me that is a possibility, so I just wanted to try it and see what could happen. Now, since I'm very slow and this process took me a while, I'm going to speed it up and put some heavy metal music on the background. I made it. Wow. Yes. And what a surprise, guys! I put a heart-shaped buttercream decoration on the top of it. The result is so beautiful that Gordon Ramsay is calling me right now, but I'm not going to answer him because I am a very humble guy, you know? But I am also a very ambitious person, so I wasn't just going to stop there because I wanted to put even more decoration and my art into it. And after seeing a lot of Google images of reference, I just learned by the visualization technique how to perfectly decorate. Oh my god, what the fuck is that? Yes, this is horrible, guys, I know it, but I really tried. I really put all my effort into it, but probably I'm not a good artist. I mean, I'm not a chef neither. No. Now the only thing that can save this recipe, I mean not the recipe because the recipe is good, but the only thing that can save this dessert is of course the flavor. What about the flavor, guys? Well, actions speak louder than words, so I'm going to show you some footage of me trying this dessert. Delicious. Yes, guys, the flavor was an absolute success. I really like this recipe. Even if I commit a lot of errors in the process, the recipe works so well. And I think that is because the ingredients are working in perfect synergy, and because of that, both the flavors and the textures feel so good combined. Also, even if these strawberries are not from this recipe, I also like them because they add an acid flavor which add a very good contrast with the overall sweetness of the recipe. But what about the other half of the recipe, the one that has manjar instead of buttercream? It's still good. Not good as this one, but still good. I mean, it's manjar. Of course it's going to be good. And there you have it. As I said before, everything with manjar is good, but it's obvious that this recipe was made with a specific purpose, and I think the original one is so much better for obvious reasons. So that was for the video, guys. Do you like how I bastardized this recipe with these beautiful hands? Probably my cat didn't like it because it was trying to stop me in the process. Just when I was going to decorate the cake with the strawberries, my cat stopped me stealing my chair. You can call that a coincidence, but I prefer to call it a message from God himself. Some other friends have sent me another recipe, which are a pumpkin pie and a special secret curry that I had to make. So be happy because I'm going to burn my kitchen again. I hope you like this video and I hope to see you in the next one.